They built the perfect defense. Humans built a better offense. The Zaphrian Council of Elders had perfected, over a period of 3 centuries, what they called the Eternal Barrier. It's an imaginary dome of pure energy which enveloped their entire homeworld like a starlight soap bubble. From orbit, Zephyros Prime seemed to be a great pearl hung against the starry blackness, its surface glowing with tremors of defensive energy which could neutralize any known weapon within the galaxy. Admiral Corvith gazed out into the tremendous, observing portal of the council chamber, his forearms crossed contentedly as he gazed on their handiwork. The shield pulsed softly, a steady beat of protection which had kept their folks safe amidst the chaotic wars which had ravaged the outer systems. Behind, the other council members cheeped their agreement within their species' singing speech. "No. Projectile goes through it," declared scientist Vexora, whose crystal eyes reflected the shield glow. "No energy beam can penetrate. No blasting power can blast it. We have achieved true invincibility." The shield worked harmonically to resonate perfectly with impending harm, actually neutralizing the destructive potential of the threat before contact could take place. Missiles simply shattered. Laser beams diverged into harmless light. Even the most powerful plasma cannons became useless against its advanced defensive maneuver. The Immortal Barrier had stood for 5 decades against every challenge. The Zaphrians had grown complacent within their stronghold world, constructing art and culture and watching the galaxy burn while they constructed. They felt sorry for the other races, primitive beings who huddled about with gross weapons and armor when perfection of defense alone could provide true security. That predated humanity's discovery of Zephyros Prime, the human exploration starship. Relentless emerged from hyperspace one local Tuesday morning. Its captain, Sarah Martinez, looked out of the bridge, studying this strange sight before them on the main viewer. The planet hung there like a Christmas ornament, beautiful and mysterious. "Well, you don't often see things like this," grumbled Chief Engineer Blake Richardson, rubbing a work-hardened hand through his graying hair. He had worked on starships 30 years, but this one had never happened to him before. Epichung Nar. "Interesting," declared Science Officer Dr. Alina Vasquez on board her science station. "I am reading colossal energy readings, but they are not coming from the planet's surface. They are coming from some field surrounding the entire planet." Martinez nodded, studying the readings. Humans had witnessed defensive shields before, but not on this level. Most races defended specific cities or military installations. These creatures had enveloped their entire planet like a package. Athanasia, attempting to talk. Lieutenant Commander James Park shrugged. "They're responding to our hails, but they don't feel like talking. Just keep asking us to move on." Very polite, but stern. The first inkling came during the weekly engineering briefing. Richardson had gotten his men gathered in the spaceship workshop to cover routine maintenance when junior engineer Amanda Faust pointed to the sensor readings on the wall screen. "What do you think puts power to that thing?" she said, gesturing towards the image of the Zephyros Prime. "That power is massive. Gotta have power from somewhere." Richardson furrowed his eyes on the readings, his mind transitively on the task. This is what came naturally to humanity, to gaze upon something ostensibly unaccountable and then set to work on how to violate. "Fusion reactors, maybe?" asked Carlos Mendez, the technician. "Several of them combined," said Richardson, his head bobbing back and forth. "Think about the energy distribution pattern. Even too regular. This isn't as spherically beautiful as we are used to. Alina, can you set the resolution on these scans higher?" Dr. Vasquez operated her console, and the image sharpened. The energy patterns on the screen became clear, and an intricate matrix of force materialized, pulsating and flowing with entrancing rhythms. "Holy shit," said Foster softly. "Chief, look at Sector 7. Then Richardson followed the pointing hand, and it all became clear. The shield wasn't merely a shield. It was a massive resonance chamber. Power wasn't merely flowing around the planet. Power was being focused, channeled, and concentrated by the planet's own field of gravitation and core magnetism. They are tuning their whole damn planet like a tuning fork, said Richardson softly. That night, the captain spotted Richardson observing in the observation lounge of the vessel, gazing out over Zaphrians Prime while working on sketchbook and mathematics problems. He ordered himself a coffee and joined her, sitting to address her. "You've got that look, Blake," Sarah told him. "The same one you had when you jury-rigged our engines during the Centauri incident." Richardson looked up from his documents, and there was something unnatural in his face. He had found the solution to a riddle to which he wasn't entirely sure there should be an answer. "Sarah, what would you do if you took a glass and determined the precise resonant frequency of the glass?" "It would shatter," she answered promptly. Any graduate of the academy understood the fundamental physics, correct? Well, what if, instead of a glass of wine, you had a planet-sized resonant chamber that had been fine-tuned to throw off oncoming energy? A shiver ran down the spine of Martinez. "What are you thinking, Blake?" He turned his notebook around so that she could see his sketches. They had the energy patterns of the barrier, but with modifications calculations for shifts in frequency, changes in amplitude, harmonic disturbances. "I think they built themselves the most sophisticated musical instrument on the galaxy," said Richardson. "And like any instrument, you can get it to croon whatever tune you fancy if you know how to play it." The next day, Richardson informed the top level. The conference room fell silent as he outlined his theory. Using holographic images to illustrate the patterns of resonance of a beautiful thing with their defense, he said. Moving the display to illustrate energy flow patterns is that it relies on nothing but harmonic stability. Everything within the system must be spot on, perfectly harmonized, or the whole thing comes crashing down. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward, studying the projections. "So you are saying we could destabilize it?" "No, destabilize," corrected Richardson. "Redirect. Well, they've constructed this massive energy collector to harness power from cosmic radiation, solar wind, background quantum fluctuations. Real efficient. But two ways works efficiency." He changed the display to another mode, one with the energy of the barrier flowing towards the interior and not outward. "If we could adjust the resonance frequency by a very few decimal places, we could reverse the polarity of the entire system. Instead of deflecting energy away from the planet, it would focus all available energy right on the surface." The room erupted with worried voices. Commander Park was the first to object. "Blake, you are describing turning their own defensive mechanism as a weapon." "That's genocide," said Dr. Vasquez quietly. "That's how you commit genocide with their own technology." Richardson snapped his notebook shut. "I'm explaining how physics works, Elena. How we choose to use that information is a separate conversation." Captain Martinez scanned the table. She could see the tension on the faces of her officers, fascination with the elegant solution against the moral price of what Richardson had found. "The problem," said Richardson, "is are we going to pretend we don't know what we do know? Because I guarantee you, if we can figure this out, so can someone else. And they probably won't care as much about the ethics of the situation." That night, Martinez couldn't sleep. She found herself walking the halls of the spacecraft, and sometime later, found herself in the small chapel open to crews of all faiths. She wasn't particularly religious, but there was something about the silent room that helped her to think. The morality calculus got blurred. The Zaphrians did not attack. They only wanted to have nothing to do with other folks. All their wall did was defend. It did not harm. But Richardson had been right about one thing. If humanity could unravel their technology, someone else could too. She thought about species they would encounter on their travels. The Krillian Empire, with their win-at-all-costs ethic of strength. The Hive Collective, who saw other species as resources to use. Both would see the Zaphrian shield as a challenge, not an issue of ethics. The next morning, there came an unexpected occurrence. Lieutenant Park came into the captain's quarters around 0600 hours, his face with an expression of concern and enthusiasm. "Captain, we have a comms transmission from Zaphrians Prime. They would like to talk. In the communications room, the principal screen flickered to life with the face of Admiral Corveth. His forearms stretched out to what Martinez had learned to indicate a peace greeting among his own people. Admiral Martinez, stated the Admiral. His tone carried the singing inflection of Zaphrian speech. We have been monitoring your vessels' movements. Your men have been most sophisticated in their probing of our defensive screen. Martinez turned to Richardson, who had followed them into the communications center. Admiral Corveth, we've been studying your barrier because it is unlike anything we have seen. We do not mean to do you harm. We are accustomed to human curiosity. Corveth stated. It is one of your species' foremost characteristics, but we must ask the conclusions of your research. The question hung like a challenge. Martinez experienced the weight of the moment. Her answer would not only determine the human and Zaphrian bond, but potentially the future of an entire race. We found your shield to be very advanced, said one tentatively. A testament to your race's engineering skills. Corveth's crystal eyes seemed to look right through her from the screen. Captain, we've observed your species for some time. Humans have a name throughout the galaxy. You are called problem solvers. When you get face to face with something which is not possible, you get to work on ways and means to make the impossible possible. Richardson stepped forward. Admiral, your shield is the most defensive technology I've ever witnessed. Analysis reveals that it would thwart your world against one traditional attack. Traditional attack, yes, stated Corveth. But your analysis went beyond traditional patterns. Did you not, Chief Engineer Richardson? The alien admiral had learned the name of Richardson, learned his rank. They had been studying the Zaphrians more intently than anyone had thought. Sir, stated Richardson, his voice steady despite the tension in the room, any defensive system will have theoretical flaws. That's physics. I and humans are perfectionists when it comes to detecting weaknesses. Corveth paused, his forearms as moving as if in a gesture of resignation. Chief Engineer, how long would your species take to militarize my shield? The pointed question surprised Richardson. He looked to his own captain, who gestured for an honest answer. With sufficient funds and suitable equipment, a team of human engineers could well build themselves a disruptor of resonance in 6 months, Richardson admitted. But Admiral, and how much time until other species learn this lesson from man? Martinez felt a pang of dismay. She could sense where this was leading. Admiral, we have no wish to share this information with hostile species. With respect, human history would disagree. Your species' nature is for scientific advancements to become common shortly after their discoveries, against original intent. Your knowledge on how to breach our barrier shall not remain a secret for long. The broadcast continued for another hour as Corveth detailed the Zaphrian mindset. They had found peace with being unbeatable. Their society on a mass scale worked with the ideology that total defensive strength meant one did not need to use offense. Their society had been shaken to their core with the news their shield could now be turned against them. After the broadcast had finished, Martinez called another senior staff meeting. They had a somber atmosphere within the conference room as they discussed their options. We can damage our research, Dr. Vasquez said. Delete all records of our analysis. That isn't going to do, remarked Richardson. The basics are too obvious once you learn to look for them. Any good engineer would come to the same conclusions as we did. Commander Park leaned back in his chair. We are stuck. We can't unknow what we've learned, and we can't prevent other individuals from figuring it out. There is another way. Martinez spoke softly. They all stared at her. What do you mean? We helped them close the gap. Richardson raised an eyebrow. You'd like to strengthen their defenses? Think about this. We know how their filter works, and we know how to get past it. That means we know how to adjust it to close the hole too. Dr. Vasquez looked interested. A complete redesign of their resonance matrix. That would involve cooperation, said Martinez. Total cooperation between human and Zaphrian engineers. It was an unprecedented offer to human diplomatic history. As part of the offer they made to Zephyros Prime, they would provide their complete analysis of weaknesses of the barrier and plans to adjust the barrier and eliminate those weaknesses. They would do this as an offer for the right to study Zaphrian defensive gear to strengthen the defenses of human worlds. The answer from Admiral Korvath arrived within hours. The High Council of Zephyr would consider the proposal, but under specific terms. Human engineers who would work on the project would need to remain on Zephyros Prime throughout the duration of work. Alterations to the barrier would need to be achieved before technical data would be revealed to humanity. But foremost, two species would need to jointly sign a binding non-aggression pact. Richardson said he would volunteer immediately. "This is the engineering challenge of a lifetime," he said to Martinez. "Also, someone needs to make sure we are not, I repeat, not creating a weapon more dangerous than the original weakness." Dr. Vasquez also requested to join the mission. "The physics here may change everything we understand about wide-scale energy manipulation. Not sending Blake as the lone human on the ground with access to their technology isn't an option, too." The captain approved the mission with a sense of mutually opposing sentiments. She trusted her men, but she was, in fact, entrusting them to an alien species, whose skills they only now began to understand. The transportation system of the barrier did not consist of anything found within human experience. Instead of typical shuttles or transporters, controlled fields of resonance were employed to move objects through the barrier while not compromising its defensive abilities. Richardson and Vasquez were encapsulated within an energy bubble, and they were transported safely to the planet's surface. Zephyros Prime was beautiful in a fashion that refused to define itself. Cities had been cultivated, not built, and their edifices appeared to erupt organically from the earth. Light from the barriera created an immortal twilight over all, and bathed the same in pale, mobile tints. The Zaphrian delegation stood ready at the arrival platform. Vexora, the research specialist, headed the group with an expression that balanced both inquisitiveness and apprehension on her crystalline features. Chief Engineer Thymel Clearly, the hands-on member of the team, kept his four limbs in constant motion while inspecting the newcomer's apparatus. "Greetings, and welcome to Zephyros Prime," Vexora announced. Her pronunciation of English marked by a distinct accent, yet perfectly comprehensible. "We have prepared accommodations for your stay. Your assignment will commence without delay." The technical workshop where they would conduct their operations stood as a remarkable example of Zaphrian construction mastery. The curved walls appeared to throb with their own inner radiance, while the crystalline flooring managed to be both completely solid and gently responsive. Beneath one's feet, Richardson positioned his apparatus within the main laboratory, linking human analytical equipment to Zaphrian computing systems through a makeshift connection. After 3 days of experimentation and corrections, both civilizations had begun communicating through the shared vocabulary of scientific principles and mathematical concepts. "The obstruction proves far more intricate than our original assessment," suggested, Richardson announced during their initial technical evaluation. He gestured toward a three-dimensional projection displaying the energy configurations surrounding the planet. The resonance network contains 17 distinct harmonic frequencies, each calibrated to deflect specific categories of incoming energy. Thymmel's limbs moved in a pattern Richardson had come to recognize as indicating professional fascination. "You have pinpointed the vulnerability within the 7th harmonic shield layer, the one designed to absorb kinetic projectiles." "Exactly. If someone could produce a counter vibration at precisely the correct frequency, they could not only penetrate that layer but actually employ it to amplify their assault." He manipulated the display to demonstrate the energy currents reversing direction. The defensive barrier would focus all available power into a critical vulnerability at the point of impact. Dr. Vasquez moved closer, examining the projection carefully. "However, there exists more than a single weakness. Observe harmonics 12 and 15. One could theoretically destabilize both simultaneously. The complete barrier system would fail. Vexera concluded in a subdued tone. We had never contemplated a multi-harmonic assault strategy. The project accelerated once both parties grasped the full extent of the challenge. The Zaphrian defensive system was not merely susceptible to Richardson's described attack methodite was vulnerable to countless alternative strategies, each more devastating than the previous. Your civilization engineered this system anticipating that attackers would employ conventional armaments, Richardson explained during one of his evening work periods. Rockets, energy projectors, explosive devices. You failed to account for someone who would attempt to transform the barrier itself into an offensive weapon. Four limbs performed what Richardson now understood as the Zaphrian expression, equivalent to a shoulder shrug. We constructed it to repel direct assaults. Turning our own defenses against us, however, was completely inconceivable. That represents exactly where perfect defense becomes flawed, Dr. Vasquez declared. It causes one to overlook that perfect defense is more often than not simply perfect defense inverted. Their solution involved remarkable complexity, rather than a single resonance network. They designed a multi-tiered system where each level could function independently if others were compromised. Additionally, they incorporated what Richardson termed randomization generators, compact devices that would continuously alter the resonance frequencies of each layer, preventing any attacker from identifying a stable counterfrequency to exploit. You are attempting to shatter a crystal goblet using sound, Richardson explained to Captain Martinez during one of their weekly communications, but the goblet constantly shifts its pitch randomly, making it impossible to find the correct tone. The installation of modifications required for months to complete. Richardson and Vasquez collaborated with teams of Zaphrian technicians, exchanging techniques and knowledge that benefited both civilizations. Humans acquired new energy manipulation approaches, while the Zaphrians learned about flexible engineering and redundancy-focused system architecture. However, a remarkable revelation occurred when Dr. Vasquez stumbled upon an unexpected discovery. Within the force field's power supply system, you must observe this, she called out one evening while working at her station. Richardson approached and joined her to examine the energy flow diagrams she had displayed on the monitor. The shield's power supply doesn't merely draw energy from the fusion generators, she announced excitedly. They are actually extracting zero-point energy from quantum vacuum oscillations. This technology surpasses anything we possess by decades. Richardson released a quiet whistle of amazement. Zero-point energy remained purely theoretical for human science. Extracting practical power from the quantum vacuum would completely transform human society. The real question becomes, he said softly, will we need to inform them about what this represents? Vasquez regarded him with confusion. What do you mean by that, Alina? They are completely unaware of what they have constructed. This isn't merely a planetary defense network. This constitutes an inexhaustible energy source. With appropriate modifications, one could adapt this technology to power individual spacecraft, settlements, perhaps even portable equipment. The implications were staggering. The Zaphrians had solved humanity's energy limitations without realizing their achievement. They had constructed their shield using technology capable of revolutionizing human civilization entirely. That same evening, Richardson convened an emergency meeting with the Zaphrian engineering team. He presented them with Dr. Vasquez's findings, explaining the potential applications of their zero-point extraction technology. You could energize your complete civilization with a single power facility the size of a large structure, he informed them. No more requirement for massive fusion power stations. No more dependence on stellar energy collection. You have developed the ultimate energy source. Vexera's crystalline eyes expanded as she reviewed Richardson's computer models. We never contemplated civilian applications. We developed the barrier technology exclusively for planetary defense purposes. That illustrates the distinction between human and Zaphrian thinking, Richardson explained. You construct something to perform one function and perfect that single function. We build something for one purpose and then discover we can adapt it for numerous other applications as well. Chief Engineer Thymel was grinning while performing. His computations, his four limbs moving rapidly as he reconfigured different elements of the formulas. The scaling would be extensive, but certainly achievable. We could actually manufacture miniaturized versions of the zero-point extractors. During the following weeks, the project transformed from simply upgrading a defensive barrier to a comprehensive technology exchange. Both sides shared zero-point energy innovations, while the humans provided instruction in multifunctional system design and adaptive engineering principles. Richardson found himself addressing challenges he never could have imagined tackling. How does one miniaturize a planetary defense system? How does one package zero-point energy extraction into a portable format? How does one prevent peaceful technology from being converted into weapons of unimaginable destructive power? We are not simply repairing their defenses, he reported to Captain Martinez during one of their communication sessions. We are helping them establish the foundation for a completely different form of civilization, one where energy scarcity becomes permanently eliminated. But as the project neared completion, a new complication arose. Other species had begun observing the unusual activity surrounding Zephyros Prime. Long-distance sensors detected vessels from the Krillian Empire monitoring from the system's periphery. Hive collective reconnaissance ships had been identified in adjacent sectors. Admiral Corveth summoned an urgent meeting with the human team. His typically composed bearing was replaced by obvious anxiety. Our intelligence services have confirmed that multiple hostile species are showing significant interest in our world, he reported. They appear to believe the modifications we have been implementing to our shield constitute some form of advanced weapon system. Richardson felt a chill of apprehension. Admiral, if they launch an attack before we complete the upgrade, there will be a window of exposure during the transfer, Corveth affirmed. We will not have protection for roughly 72 hours as the new matrix of resonance comes online. Dr. Vasquez looked up from the figures. Can we accelerate the schedule with a potential for catastrophic failure? Stated Thymel. The harmonic calibrations must be precise, or the entire system goes into permanent failure. Captain Martinez spoke on comms. Admiral, the Relentless is standing by to provide whatever support we can. But one ship isn't going to do to counter an all-out attack. Then came a desperate dash against the clock. Man and Zaphrian workers labored day and night to complete the work on the barriers as intelligence reports grew ever darker. A Krillian battle squadron had advanced into the outer system. Hive collective forces were assembling on the fringes of Zaphrian space. Richardson worked his men to exhaustion, double-checking and triple-checking each computation, each connection, each harmonic frequency. No room for error margins here. They would screw up once, and the Zaphrians would have two of the galaxy's deadliest species to contend with. 71 hours, 23 minutes until the new matrix comes online, announced Thymel during the final prep meeting. Everyone is ready to activate the transition sequence. Admiral Corveth addressed the assembled engineers, his forearms extended in a gesture of grave determination. My countrymen and Zaphrians, what we embark on today shall determine the fate of our world. May the celestial harmonics bless our work. The closure of barriers had been set to start exactly on Movi OSR's local time. Richardson watched from the control center as power levels dropped incrementally. The shield field which had surrounded Zephyros Prime for 5 decades blinking out of existence. The planet, for the first time in half a century, lay exposed to the stars. We've completed Phase 1, announced Dr. Vasquez, beginning installation of the new resonance generators. The next 72 hours were the longest Richardson ever experienced. Occasionally, there were new reports from human and Zaphrian scouts. The Krillian fleet was on approach. Hive collective ships probed the system's outer defenses, but the engineering team held on, establishing equipment, checking and calibrating C-stems, and praying their math was correct. Richardson was working with Zaphrian engineers as old friends, language barriers dissolving before strong common purpose. Online resonance generators, Thymel declared as they entered the final phase, beginning harmonic calibrations sequence. Rupee Kiss, this was the most delicate part of the entire operation. All 17 harmonic levels had to go online in precise sequence. Their frequencies adjusted exactly to create a stable pattern of interference. Too fast, and the system would overflow. Too slow, and the onrushing fleets of the enemy would reach Earth before the barrier could be rebuilt. Hurt 1 nominal, a Zaphrian tech said. Nominal layer 2. Nominal layer 3. Richardson held his breath and waited as reports continued to arrive. Everything now depended on the next minutes. 15th layer, nominal layer 16. Lethality. Level the silence seemed like an eternity. 17, nominal. All harmonic layers are stable and synchronized. The new barrier, which materialized around Zephyros Prime, was unlike anything ever witnessed within the galaxy. Instead of the gentle, pearl-like glow of the original, this one throbbed with constantly shifting patterns of color and brightness. Chaos generators operated within full power, making the resonance frequency of the barrier unguessable and uncalculable. The real test did not come, however, until 6 hours later, when the Krillian battle fleet materialized on the system's perimeter. Acknowledge Zephyros Prime, the raspy tone of the Krillian fleet commander said. Lower your shields and surrender your new weapon system, or we will take it from you. The response from Admiral Corvith came through system-wide. Krillian vessels. You are not desired within our space. Retreat now. The Krillian commander laughed like grinding metal. Your shield once may have protected you, alien, but we know its weakness. We know how to turn your very shields against you. Richardson watched from the command center as the Krillians reformed to attack. They had learned the key to the weakness of the original barrier, apparently from spying or captured intelligence. They were on the cusp of finding their intelligence was dangerously outdated. The attack began with a massive coordinated bombardment. Kinetic missiles, energy beams, and resonance disruptors all converged on a single point on the shield, attempting to create the harmonic cascade required to transform the Zaphrian defenses into a tool of self-destruction. That is, the damper only absorbed the attack and transformed it into harmless light. Impossible, said the Krillian commander. Power. UP. Target their harmonic resonance frequency. But there had been no single frequency to zero in. The chaos generators were constantly altering the harmonic signature of the barrier. And it was resistant to the resonance attacks which would have been deadly to the original design. After 6 hours of fruitless bombardment, the Krillian fleet withdrew, the Hive collective forces watching the battle from their own ships, judged discretion to be the better part of valor, and withdrew as well. Zephyros Prime was safe with an impenetrable shield to protect it in the weeks to come. Word of the successful defense resonated outward to all corners of the galaxy. Not only did the Zaphrians manage to survive an attack from 2 of the great power states, but they had managed to do so with not a shot fired back. Their principal stance to defend but not to attack had been demonstrated to the fullest. But to Dr. Vasquez and Richardson, the great victory was what they had accomplished with their Zaphorian equivalents. The technology transfer had far-ranging benefits beyond the military uses. The zero-point energy extractors work perfectly, said Richardson to Captain Martinez. We have operable versions with the ability to power a starship for decades before refueling. And the Zaphrians themselves are incorporating our principles of adaptable engineering within their civil infrastructure. Dr. Vasquez was equally enthusiastic regarding the scientific discoveries. We've learned more about bulk energy manipulation in the past 6 months than humanity learned over the past 100 years. The theoretical possibilities alone will keep physicists busy for centuries, as their task on Zephyros Prime neared completion. Richardson did not wish to leave. He had found genuine friendships with the Zaphrian engineers, ties which transcended species differences based on shared fervor for solving insoluble challenges. "You've given us more than better defenses," he told him during his farewell ceremony. "You've taught us new ways to think about technology and to use technology. Our civilization will never be the same because of what we've learned from you." Richardson grabbed his friend's hand, 4 of them. "And you've given us the key to boundless power. I'd say we're level now." Admiral Corveth led the closing ceremony, his crystal eyes glinting with the soft glow of the new barrier. "Chief Engineer Richardson, Dr. Vasquez, you came to our planet. As strangers, you leave as brothers and sisters. Our race's unity will live on as long as stars are shining bright." The return to the Relentless felt strangely anticlimactic after the drama of the past 6 months. Richardson and Vasquez were heavily weighted with Zaphrian tech and data files, the fruits of the most successful diplomatic mission ever attempted by man. Captain Martinez awaited them in the shuttle bay, grinning with relief and curiosity. "Welcome back. I'm sure you have some intriguing stories to tell." "Sarah, we've regained the plans for unlimited power," Richardson said stoically. "0-point extraction, harmonic resonance control, variable shield measures the works. And we've set up an ongoing technology exchange program," said Dr. Vasquez. "The Zaphrians would like to continue to cooperate with human engineers. They're interested in our techniques as much as we are in theirs." As Relentless departed Zephyros Prime, Richardson stood in the observation lounge, looking out on the picturesque barrier-covered world as it receded behind. The planet globe glittered and felt other now that he learned of its other nature, more than a shield, but a testament to interspecific cooperation. "You know what the best part is?" said to Dr. Vasquez, who had gotten up to stand beside him at the viewing port. "What's that?" "We figured we would need to help them close a gap in their defenses. We ended up needing to close a gap in our own thought processes." Vasquez stared at him. "What do you mean?" Richardson gestured towards the planet, glowing. "Humankind always believed the ultimate defense is a good offense. Build bigger weapons, build better armor, stay one step ahead of your enemies. But the Zaphrians revealed the best offense is often an ideal defense. And they learned from us that ideal defense is not stiff defense," added Vasquez. "It is fluid defense, defense capable of adapting and of learning and of improving." Zephyros Prime receded behind them. Richardson thought about possibilities of what they had accomplished. 2 species with fundamentally different philosophies had joined forces within their shared commitment to excellence in engineering. Humanity had been given access to fundamentally new energy technology. The Zaphrians had gained new ways of looking at solutions to problems and system configurations. But above all, they had proven there could exist collaboration among species with fundamentally opposing perspectives on the universe. The galaxy need not be one in which every civilization had to defend itself against expansionary neighbors. It could be one in which diverse species worked towards ends to which no individual race could work unassisted. The reports Richardson and Dr. Vasquez would bring back would transform human civilization within 10 years. 0-point energy harvesting. Devices would become routine on human worlds within 5 years, ending the energy drought that had constrained expansion to the inner systems. Adaptive engineering concepts they learned among the Zaphrians would transform human technology design, with better and more versatile systems. But perhaps most importantly, there may have been a philosophical change. The Zephyros Prime mission had demonstrated that humanity's biggest strength wasn't the ability to weaponize anything, but to solve old problems with creativity and with teamwork. The technological exchange between Zephyr and humanity established the model for mutually harmonious species collaboration. Dozens of other societies had their own programs within the decade, their diverse strengths being added to the growing list of species. Cooperation. Richardson often thought about his experience on Zephyros Prime as an adult. He had set out on the mission as a human engineer trying to assist an alien race with repairing their defenses. He had exited the mission as a galactic citizen, helping fellow citizens who happened to be an alien race. The perimeter wall of Zephyros Prime stood to guard that world for centuries to come. Ever-evolving patterns a testament to the fact that the very best protection resulted from those which could adapt and learn. But then, too, it became an embodiment of something bigger, testimony to the fact that various species could collaborate to create something more than they could individually. Years later, young engineers would ask for his secret to successful cross-species collaboration. His answer never changed. Remember how much we are all the same on the inside, despite how much we differ on the outside. All of us seeking to solve the unsolvable. Start there, and everything else will fall into place. Zaphrians had built the ultimate shield, but humans had built an impenetrable bridge between worlds which turned one strangers into allies for all time. Eventually, the former became the ultimate impenetrable shield.